All right, we are live. We'll give folks a couple minutes to join here.
Cool.
All right. Sounds good. We have notes here.
Are we just on LinkedIn Live, or are we other places as well?
LinkedIn and X, formerly known as Twitter.
All right.
And then the video will be up there. So
Sure.
you'll be able to reshare it if you want or repurpose it. I think you should be able to pull the recording from here right after we finish up too.
Cool.
Okay, cool. It's always good to go back and watch yourself on video and cringe a little bit. Pick up ways to improve, right?
That's the way to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Constructive criticism on yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, it's always that's what I sound like, really.
All right.
Every once in a while, you're like, "Hey, I said something cool there."
All right, we are at 1 minute past, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all, everyone that's joining us live. Any folks watching the recording, happy to have you with us here. We're looking to do a little bit of Backdoors and Breaches live. So with us today, a little bit different here, we're going to have Blake running as the incident captain. Jake, Alex, and myself will be playing as the defenders. So Blake and then Jake, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go first. My name is Blake Regan. I'm the Senior Cybersecurity Incident and Response Manager at UL Solutions. I'm also the head of sponsors at Blue Team Con, and happy to be here today. Someone asked me to working in incident response. When you are asked to the calling, you must show up. So here I am.
And I'm Jake Hildreth. I am principal security consultant at Sempris. About 3 months into the role at this point. Do Active Directory security assessments, like writing open source tools. Like playing Backdoors and Breaches. Ready to do this.
Awesome. And then Alex, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Alex Martirosian, one of the Dens Secure offensive security leads. I've been with the group for 7 years at this point. Help do penetration testing, red team assessments, threat emulation, all that sort of fun stuff.
Awesome. All right. So a little bit of housekeeping before we get going and put ourselves at Blake's mercy. We blocked off an hour for this. Some of you that have been through this before know we may or may not use the whole time. Really what we want to do is give an example of how you can use the Backdoors and Breaches game to run through some tabletop scenarios for you and your team. If you want to play online, you can play.backdoorsandbreaches.com. Freely available. You can build your own custom scenarios. You can deal with some randomness there. If you want to have the physical cards, you can get those at that Spearfish General Store link on the bottom here. Although I have heard they're coming out with a mega deck up there, so maybe hold off on your order to get everything all at once if you are going to do that.
I have not heard about this. What's the mega deck?
It is everything combined together. So I guess you could have all the individual decks, but try and pull some of that together into one master deck of pain, maybe. Go through it that way.
Very Magic the Gathering.
Right. So at a high level, some of the roles here. So Blake is going to be running as the incident captain. He's got our scenario for us. He's going to be not necessarily helping us get through the scenario, but providing some guidance as we work through why some things may or may not give us the answers that we're looking for. What the three of us are trying to do is using our 10 turns to reveal the 4 attack cards. How did the attackers get in? How did they pivot and escalate throughout the environment? How did they either establish command and control or exfiltrate data? And how did they maintain their persistence? We're going to have a few established procedure cards where we get that +3 modifier. And then just as a reminder for folks watching, just because in the real world, sometimes things don't work like you think they will, we're going to be rolling that 20-sided die for all of our turns. And if we roll a 1 through a 10, that's going to be a fail. And Blake will have some very insightful reasons why that defensive procedure did not work. If it's an 11 through a 20, that's going to be considered a success. those established procedures are going to have an extra +3 modifier on them, right? So if you roll a 10, it's actually going to be a 13 for us. Blake will also have some injects. So if we roll a 1, a 20, or have 3 failures in a row, we're going to get an inject. Now, most of them are usually bad. There are a couple of good ones in there, but usually not. We'll see what comes up there. And then just the last thing, when you call a procedure card, you can't use it again for 3 turns, right? You want to work through your full control environment, though the procedure cards could solve more than one card, so we may want to go back to one if it's a useful one. With that, Blake, Jake, Alex, anything you want to add before we get going?
I think with the procedure cards, at least the way I've played before, and it's house rules, and this is your house, is that if you roll a procedure and it's successful, the dice are favorable, you can use the procedure again. But if it fails, that's where you do the cool off. So I'll leave it to you on how we approach that. Either way still adds some variety to the game.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll reserve the ability to change to your rules if we're needing some procedure cards. But yeah, I'd say let's plan on not using it again
Okay.
for 3 turns, just to force some variation in what we're going for.
Sure. Sounds good.
All right, with that, let's get going here.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and just we'll do a quick brush up on the rules here. Sean did a fantastic job of playing the general rules here. I just want to kind of go over and show you, if you haven't played the game before, the purpose of this game is to teach people. So that's what we're going to do at the beginning and throughout. What I'd like to do is cover some of the established procedures and just show you what those look like on the board, and then also how we'll be marking some of these cards as we progress through the incident. So whenever we're ready to do a screen share, if you're ready and they're ready, then I'm ready.
We're good.
All right. All right. So as we spoke about the established procedures, actually take one step back here and look at the game board.
Blake, you're not sharing yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was on the roll there. Let's see here. Now we should be good. We good?
You are up.
All right. Fantastic. So if we look at the game board here, you'll notice 4 cards at the top, each with different colors here. From left to right, we have Initial Compromise, Pivot and Escalate, C2 and Exfil, and then Persistence. And the objective of the game is to turn over these cards through successful rolls. And the way to do that is by choosing one of these procedures. This first course of procedures are the established procedures. If you select one of these and the dice is successful, that adds a +3 modifier to that, giving you a greater chance. So if you're at a 10 and you use the established procedure, you'll be at a 13. If you're at a 6, you'll get a 9. The +3 helped you, but not enough. And then we have this second and third course here, which are the regular procedures. Now, these can still turn over cards, but they don't have the modifier along with them. Okay. And as we move through the incident and we use some of these procedures, I'm going to do my best to remember which marker goes where. I might need some help, but this is a visual way to let you know, if we went through one turn, this would rotate to the next procedure here. This would go to 2. This one would go over here to 1. Okay. And if you direct your attention to the bottom left corner of the screen, there is a handy way to keep track of the amount of turns. You can add in turns. Remaining rolls. You can add rolls in if you choose to in an inject. So as we move through the game, we'll be talking about these different cards. When we flip over the scenario, I'll go over the established procedures. The goal is in 10 turns to solve the incident. Okay. And as we talk through this, we're going to give up examples. If we have a successful roll, we're going to talk about why it was successful. Okay. In context to the incident. I'll try to add a little storytelling along the way to make it a little more enjoyable. And if the procedure is not successful, I might throw out a reason why it wasn't successful, and maybe someone can elaborate it based on experience they've had an incident before. Okay. So if we do not solve the incident in the 10 turns, luckily for us, this is a simulation. This is part of the reason this game was created, is to help you flex that muscle memory before you need to do it. So for all of you who are new to incident response or cybersecurity, this is a great way to learn the game. It is very fun at parties, maybe cybersecurity parties or conferences. I've done that before, brought the cards with and just impromptu taught people how to play. It's also a great tool to use to demonstrate risk. If you are in cybersecurity and you have stakeholders that you need to bring a risk up, I suggest that you create a scenario in your environment that can happen and highlight that risk and see what the results are. You might get some interesting feedback. Okay. Any other things to add before we start?
I did want to mention that every card in the physical version, and actually this online too, includes tools, and then also reference links at the bottom of every one. So if you're unaware of what something is,
Yes.
there should be a little bit of educational material there that you can then dig into and learn a little bit more. I mean, you guys went through building your own deck, and how much did you get harped on about this is intended to be for high school level, right? Completely new to the field. So yeah, if you're just getting in, this is a great way to just kind of learn.
Awesome. Thank you, Jake.
Yeah.
All right. So we are going to start our scenario. All right. And I have some notes here. So I'm going to do a little read in to the scenario, kind of set the context, and then we'll go from there. Okay. And we're going to have a starting condition. Yeah. So at Global Corp at 4 a.m. Eastern on Saturday morning, the SOC team gets an alert for an account lockout for a member of the systems administration team. To investigate the matter, because the person is a domain admin, the SOC team decides to contact the person and reports that upon attempting to contact them on the company's instant messaging app, the person appears to be out of office. After waiting 2 hours for the person's manager to respond, this is a Saturday, they confirm this person has been on PTO for the last 5 days and that there should be no activity with their admin account. The SOC escalates to the IR team to investigate the matter further. And upon contacting the IR team, you identify that the lead incident responder just took off for 4 weeks of paternity leave the Friday before the incident started. All right. So we got our starting condition. So we have some suspicious, we have an account lockout for a domain admin account, a member of the systems administration team. That's essentially what we need to investigate at the beginning. So do we have, I want to highlight our stored procedures here. So we have cloud event log analysis. This is analyzing your cloud event logs. You could have CloudTrail and AWS. You could have sign-in logs and Entra, and using those to identify patterns of behavior, any activity that may be abnormal. We also have permissions audit. This is exactly what it sounds like. You go through your organization and review privilege permissions, identify if people actually need these, what is the extent of those permissions. Jake could probably tell you a lot of different stories about doing permissions audits in many different environments and the fun things that he finds. We also have lots of fun. Yeah. Cyber deception. This is a way that we can use offensive defense to trick the attackers, or maybe make something a fake account, the honey account, that is enticing for them to use and maybe tip their hand where they are in the environment. And then we also have our SIM log analysis. So this is, if you're not familiar with a SIM, this is a security information and event management system. This is a fancy way of saying this is where we forward most of our logs that our budget will allow to use for analysis later on and retain them. It's a very handy tool to use for cybersecurity incidents. Also, I think it's a great way to solve systems administration issues, different ways to do research on activity in your environment, finding baselines by using those logs, not just for security events. So where do we want to start?
I mean, you can never go wrong, or you could go wrong starting with your SIM. I mean, it sees everything, right?
Hopefully.
Everything you
our
can afford. I
assessment
noticed you
procedure.
dropped that in there. Everything you can afford.
Yes.
He's preceding what he's going to tell us when we roll a fail, why we don't get to see what we want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so
my
we're gonna
first
go with
thought-
Sim.
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, is there
All right.
anything else popping up we can use?
I mean, I've got another option, but I think we should use that.
Yeah,
plus
no, I
two
mean,
while we,
in the sim, right? Can we get anything coming out of that to figure out what else is going on?
yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and roll the dice. We're going to use the Google. We're going to use the impartial dice roller here, and we roll an 11. So for all of you playing at home, that is a successful roll, and because this is an established procedure, we do get a +3 modifier. Now we rolled an 11. That's a naturally successful roll, so it just gives us a little extra credit for using this. Okay. And so if I look at my notes here, check here. I choose which one I want to share with you
Ooh.
first. Oh, yeah. So we do flip. Oh, well, no. All right. So a sim identifies an extremely high volume of Kerberos authentication events stemming from this admin account from a computer on the network. So we found that there was a
Do you want me to dig into it? Do you want me to?
I would love, Jake, I teed this one up for you. I would love for
I
you to
know you
explain
did.
to us the dangers of this and how this could be leveraged in the environment to pivot and escalate.
All right. In short, an ESC1 template is one that will allow me to request a certificate in the name of anybody, user, computer, in a forest, and then authenticate as that user or computer in the forest. So you want to be a domain admin, you request a certificate with the name of the domain admin as a supplemental name on the certificate. And boom, you get a certificate that allows you to authenticate as that domain admin.
Yes. Very
Just
good.
when I thought our weekend was off to a bad start with a potential compromised admin, you're going to go ahead and tell us the entire forest is compromised here.
Yeah.
It's looking that way.
I'm guessing Global Corp did not run Locksmith or do
No,
certificate audit.
no. So that's definitely, we'll cover that in the post-incident review of opportunities, how we can improve.
It's free. It's free.
So Sean mentioned how can we use the sim to find out what else is going on. So during the analysis, we identified, we believe, the source of the lockout events coming from an IP address on the VPN network. So the authentication relay events were coming from this IP address that was authenticated to your VPN.
I always forget the other ones here.
Yeah, we have endpoint security protection analysis. So my best understanding of this is your EDR solution, your enterprise detection and response, or endpoint detection and response tool. I'm not going to throw out any names because there's no free ads, but this might give you some good telemetry if that host has coverage. We also have network threat hunting, or Zeek RETA analysis. This is a great way to look at the traffic in your environment and identify anomalies using statistical analysis. We also have our traditional endpoint analysis. This is where we remember all of our hand jam commands to dig into processes and pull out services and process IDs and different things like that. Deep Blue CLI is a great tool for that, using security event logs.
Deep Blue CLI is fantastic.
Fantastic.
Catch those password sprays.
So at this point, though, we know we're in a very bad spot. But I always, try and get back to, well, they had to. That's not something they're going to find externally, right? So how did they get in, and can we find that initial compromised, to start painting the picture, right? So at this point, we can more or less assume just about everything is compromised, right? But we haven't, we don't know if they've gotten any data out, right? We don't know how long they've been in, how they got in, right? Thinking from the overall response perspective. Now, part of this is playing to the game versus real world, right? But the behavior analytics, I always like, right? In a perfect world, that's going to give us some good insight of, all right, if we already identified the certificate issue here, ideally, we're also going to start noticing some of the other oddities from some of the other user accounts to see, hey, did that catch anything right before we got to the certificate issue? Did we see any other user account anomalies we can dig into?
Yeah. So, question for the group: at this point, would you engage your incident response plan? Are you already following your IR plan? Are you preparing communication to leadership? You feel you have enough information right now that you need to get something on their radar, especially because it's a Saturday?
I mean, if it were me, absolutely, already the IR team is engaged. Absolutely.
I think once we see the certificate issue and we know that we have to basically assume complete compromise until we can peel back what's been done, you've got to get those response wheels turning in the background.
Right. Very good.
So are you saying that we should call crisis management? Is that what you're saying?
They could get crisis comms going. You can get crisis comms going, but I think you need a little more information to keep
I think Sean's idea of UEBA though is really great.
Okay.
Like, we should be able to recognize other things that led here.
Okay. And just for anybody who's not familiar with UEBA, this is a tool or approach that looks at logons, events, different activities, kind of does statistical analysis, looking for patterns that stand out that are not normal, right? Typically, the tool runs the environment to get a baseline that helps you kind of tune it to then be able to look out for that deviation from the normal, right? So let's go ahead and roll that dice. And we're at a 1. So that is an inject because it is a 1. So let me go ahead and mark the board up real quick. We've got a 3. We've got a 2. We got a one of these. Now, I didn't pick any injects, so we're just going to roll with it. All right. We're going to click the inject card. No whammy, no whammy, no whammy. Give the defenders a random procedure card. This one says, for whatever reason, everyone forgot they had this procedure. That's why we write them down, right? It's Monday. Must be Monday. It's Saturday in this case. So you give a random procedure card. So I don't understand what that means. Give.
So you're gonna, so you'll elevate one of our standard procedures to an established procedure, I believe.
Got it. That we can go with. How about we do?
Because I'm going to say that's going to be how we're going to play it, because I'm pretty sure that's one of the early injects before you'd get the full procedure set. I think on the first iteration you would just get your established and not all the
and
others.
Because you have a board, you can lay down the card.
I think that might be the case.
We'll go with it.
Either way, that's how we're going to play that inject, and that's going to be one of the very few positives.
Yeah. I'm going to go.
Rule.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and choose isolation. How does that work for you?
Possibly good for response efforts, not so good for us trying to solve the game.
Yes.
A lot of people just like to do isolation. All right. So we kind of struck out here with UEBA. The tool was not running long enough, and this account was actually kind of excluded from that for some reason. The domain admins weren't ready to have their accounts monitored, so there was an exclusion set up. So that's why we weren't able to get any information at this time. But we did turn that on. So the next time we use the tool, we should have some better information, at least for future events. So what do we want to look at now? We've got 8 turns left. We got 1 card flipped over. We're doing pretty good.
And I remember you mentioning lots of failed VPN logins first. Is that correct?
There weren't a lot of failed VPN logins, but there was a lot of these Kerberos requests to using the
Okay.
certificate
Over the
to
VPN.
get the certificate that was coming from the VPN. So you at
Okay.
least have an IP address and a time frame to work with other tools.
I mean, I'm leaning towards the. I guess it. Oh man, I wish I knew what kind of VPN we were working with.
In this case, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I would say we'll say this: there's no MFA on the VPN.
Oh boy.
That would never
Did you
happen.
mention there was a lockout that happened with the domain admin account at the
The
start of
domain
the
admin
scenario?
did get locked out when the certificate was being abused and working with accounts. They changed the password and a stored password somewhere in the domain locked it out. Running on a job, someone was being not great and running a service as a domain admin.
You mean you're not supposed to do that? It makes the service work.
No, yeah.
Oh man. I mean,
So you found the lockout. You found out where the lockouts were coming from, and that's how you figured out that the job was running stored creds.
Gotcha.
Because they had changed the password since getting control of it.
For me, I see so little of it, but I get excited when I see it, especially when doing offensive assessments.
Yeah.
I'm leaning more towards cyber deception, and the reason is because I hope, as an established procedure, we're very good at making honey tokens and accounts, and hopefully the AC1 template or the triggers that we placed around the network through an alert for when that actor was escalating, maybe triggering something that we can lead to understand how the actor actually got in or how they're maybe establishing a C2. It's awfully new for cyber deception, but I do get excited when I see that because it adds an obstacle and creativity towards actually detecting activity.
Sure. We like that one. We're going to go with cyber deception.
Sure.
Okay, great. All right, roll the dice.
Yeah.
Okay, your curse is broken, Alex.
Alex is back.
Yes, you're back.
I think that's probably the first roll that I've gotten over.
Yeah. So cyber deception, that was a great analysis, a great explanation of cyber deception. Unfortunately, the account that you had set up, the attacker was a little more experienced, and they saw the date created on the account and said to themselves, this is probably not something I want to go after because it was so new and looked so enticing that they were able to restrain themselves.
Ooh. Hey, you remembered to move the tokens.
I know. I'm
proud of you.
Doing good. Don't jinx it, though.
Potentially.
Like for the audience, how many more turns do we have until we need to?
So we have 7 turns. We have 7 turns left. We're doing good. It's not dire straits yet. Everybody's drinking water. I just ordered Jimmy John's for everybody. So we're doing pretty good. Coming into like hour 14 of the initial response. So it's getting a little tough to do, but we're hanging in there.
I'm curious. Right, so the sim would be nice to go back to, and I know we can't do that yet. I'm curious if the cloud event log analysis or the EDR tool are. I still think we need more visibility to figure out exactly what's going on, and in my mind, those two jump out as powerful controls that would hopefully help us. But Blake, you keep also mentioning traffic coming in over the VPN, which I think the firewall log review comes back into use for that. Ideally, either for that initial compromise or potentially any exfil. We already started that incident response process in the background. Maybe that helps us confirm, is this a data loss issue as well?
Okay. Yeah. And I'm glad that you bring that up. On the bridge, the IR bridge, the service desk manager jumped on and she said, I don't know if this is related, but we've been getting a lot of requests to allow list several blog sites in the environment. Some of them are topics like how to play pickleball, RC car repair tips, and how to start a rock collection. I don't know if that's helpful. She said it kind of seemed odd and, wanted to bring that up to everybody's attention. So let's go ahead with this firewall review procedure, which is down here. Firewall log review. All right, let's roll that dice.
Come on, dice.
3. All right. So the firewall log review, unfortunately, the retention period for the VPN, because there's so many informational logs that come from the VPN, that those logs were being dropped. They overloaded the SIM, and the logs are being dropped. So we didn't have enough information to capture what we were looking for in the firewall log review. It doesn't mean that the logs aren't there. It just was in the firewall log review.
All right, and our favorite tool is about to open up again as
Yeah.
Blake moves us around.
Okay, so firewall log review, and then we do this one, and then we do this one, and we do that. All right, 6 turns.
Sim, baby, sim.
Yeah, it's good.
Back
The path that you're on is good. We just didn't find it in the tool at that time. Doesn't mean that we're going to give up. So we have network threat hunting. We haven't used yet. That could be a good one to help us out. Same line of reasoning as the firewall log review. Yeah. And then we also have our EDR tool, our antivirus product, and we also have permissions audit. Which one? We sounded like threat hunting was a good one. Network threat hunting.
It sounds like you're pushing us that way.
I'm not. I'm just trying to give you options. As the incident commander, my job is to be a coach, right? Contrary to popular belief, we don't have all the answers, but we do know how to ask the right questions and put information together and communicate. So that's what I'm trying to do here today, is to lead to give you the best information possible to make good decisions.
What do you think, guys?
I don't know if I should keep voting since I've got 2 fails in a row here. Sim, but the sim being open again
sim. Yeah,
is interesting.
You got to go with the sim again.
Okay. All right. All right, here we go. 18. Strong showing from the sim. So the sim was able to collected. I did say that it dropped the logs, but we were looking.
You said the firewall dropped its logs.
The firewall
Not the sim
dropped the
did.
logs. The sim was able to collect those logs and had enough retention, had 30-day retention. So we were able to find the information on the VPN, and we were able to get, because of the way the VPN is configured, when you authenticate with a non-domain joined device, you are able to get the host name of that device, and you started noticing that these that's not on this one. You started noticing that there were some host names on there that did not match the host name pattern of your environment.
Sure.
Yeah. So what we identified, hold on, let me do this. Let me do 2. Hold on, this was 2. This is 3. Yeah. We go here. We were able to identify some information about, we saw a lot of these requests coming in from this, a couple non-domain join devices, the desktop dash random sequence, not something that your company didn't build, but it's on your network. And we were able to find that there were a lot of requests out to these blog sites that were, the traffic was going to these blog sites that were recently requested for approval and approved. And the request size look a lot larger than just reaching out to like a WordPress site. And you kind of notice that there was some XML, RPC, PHP in the request there, which allows for data transfer over HTTPS to WordPress.
Never trust blogs.
Never trust blogs. So the reason I brought that up, I saw this recently, or actually last year and recently. One of the techniques to get information outbound, especially for Stealer logs, is getting people to go to these WordPress sites that have been taken over, because WordPress has an RC, critical RC, like every week. And then a site that you're doing on a blog that you forget to update gets taken over, and then the information can get transferred out, and it looks like HTTPS traffic going to a blog and doesn't stand out as file transfers to Zendesk or some other site that might be on the blacklist. So that's what the attacker was using to set up C2.
Rough.
3, 2, 1. All right.
So when we're looking at that, are you saying, traffic volume indicating C2, or are we also starting to worry about exfiltration?
Exfil. Yeah, exfil.
Yeah,
Exfil. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That wasn't specifically the C2, but the exfil part there, that's the exfil piece.
So then you got to start making those calls internally of, hey, it was bad and things just got worse.
Yeah. I'll weave the C2 back in because it wasn't with the SIM, but I'll tie it all back together. So it was good that we got this card because we have 5 turns left. So we're halfway through. Look at this. 5 turns left, 2 cards flipped. We just brought in some reinforcements. Yep. You got to take a little break. We took a little pause. So we got some good choices left. We have our persistence. How are they staying in the environment? I know previously I mentioned that once the threat actor got a hold of the certificate and got the domain admin account, they changed the password. That's also a persistence method they're using. So it might be some other ways they're staying in the environment. And then we have our initial compromise. How did they initially get into our environment? I think we are confident enough in our data analysis right now that we believe they got in through the VPN somehow and have run everything out through the VPN.
And the VPN has no MFA.
The VPN has no MFA. It does have certificate authentication. And I see a note here, the service desk manager, she also mentioned that, we mentioned there was no MFA on the VPN. She did say, well, we do have certificate authentication, and that's what we do for a lot of our contractors. And we kind of dug into that a little further. And apparently you just need to submit a request and a couple of screenshots of that you have an antivirus product, and then they'll give you a certificate to authenticate to the VPN with any machine that's not part of the domain, does not have your own EDR on it. So that's how we're looking at this right now, that, this could be something that a contractor or a trusted party might have got into our environment.
Any chance we're pushing out our EDR agents to those contractors as well?
It's on the list right now, but the contractor company, the main one you're working with for support, is being resistant to changing their procedures.
So endpoint EDR analysis is not super
helpful. That was a great question to narrow down. Yeah.
Do we want to start auditing permissions to see what that contractor had access to?
Now, wait, let me step back and ask you a question, Sean. Why would it be a good idea to make it a requirement that any device that's on your network needs to be able to run your security stack on it?
So my big thing is, hey, the preventive side of that EDR is going to be great. There's probably some form of malware involved here that would have given us some earlier inklings for, but also the visibility of being able to detect, right? Even if it's not blocking anything, we've got what seems to be a pretty powerful SIM in place, and that would give us some pretty valuable information at the endpoint level of what's going on from the user perspective.
Yeah, the security operations director is pretty good with the budget, and they figured out how to make it work in the environment to get the right level of logs into the SIM to be able to have that functionality when we need it. So yes, that is a great thing to highlight. So we got 5 turns.
I could see network threat hunting or permissions audit almost working here. I mean, for the network threat hunting, we haven't identified the exact C2 channel. We know that they're using blogs for exfil, but for persistence wise, our firewall log review failed, but there could be at least some telemetry that we missed for other sites, or at least communications happening between our devices and network. That is probably worth taking a look at.
Yeah. All right. Let's roll with it. Network threat hunting. Rita is a free tool made by Active Countermeasures, a Black Hills information security company that you can use the community edition yourself. to set up and do network threat hunting in your environment. So definitely check that out. We're going to go ahead and roll the dice because if you're ready and they're ready, then we're ready. 1. All right. So things are getting spicy. All right. People are dropping like flies. The inject, we're hitting the wall. You get to that part where you start making typos and making numbers transpose, and you say, I need to take a break. I need to let my brain rest. I think some of us can relate to that. All right. Let's roll this inject. So legal takes your most skilled handler into a meeting to explain the incident. So we talked earlier about informing leadership, and it is a weekend. It's Saturday, right? And as a global company, it might take a little bit to get the right people, the right place, the right time to have a conversation. So we talked about our lead incident responder. She is away on paternity leave, and the team lead just got taken away from the incident to go connect with leadership. And there's actually an on-site meeting based on the severity of this incident. So you don't know how long they're going to be gone. Right now, they're not able to remember all the things that they remember as a team lead. So definitely our stored procedures are going to come in handy right now.
What are the full? What's the full details on that? I just like to see that.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Who brought the lawyer to the party? Well, there's always one person who pretty much runs the IRL process. That's one opinion. Teamwork. It's a team sport, right? That's what I'm getting at. You want to do it all yourself. Good luck to you.
So I don't know if Blake, if you want to tell one of us to be quiet or not for a bit, but this is a good one I like to use if I'm facilitating tabletops.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, there's one person that's just like overpowering the conversation. Just like, oh no, this is what we would do next. This is a great one to pull out and say, hey, well, guess what? You're now briefing the board, so you're gone for a couple turns.
Yeah.
And really let some other people think.
Sure. So, Sean, I'm going to have you go to the meeting at the big boardroom and meet
Better
with
for our
leadership.
roles. Better for our roles for a couple turns.
All right. Let's kick off injects. All right. So we did lose a turn, so we got 4, and
Yep.
we're gonna do the flip flop. We're gonna do the flip flop. So this goes to 2. Hold on. This goes to 2. This goes to.
Off the board.
We didn't use
Or
any.
Thrander,
Yeah,
right?
we didn't
Or
use any though, but
it
they
failed?
do.
Yeah,
Okay.
threat hunting.
Threat
That's what we
hunting.
tried to roll.
We did.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I got mixed up there. Yes. Okay.
It's all right.
And then this one goes off the board.
Log review. Firewall log review.
Log review. Thank you.
It's all right.
Right there. All right. See, that's that transposing numbers and mixing up sentences as the incident goes along. So thank you for the assistance there.
Need another monster?
No, I stay away from those. That is not a good idea during an incident, in my opinion. There's enough anxiety already going on.
All right, Alex, it's you and me.
All right.
Yep. You had a thought
think you're on
before,
the right
Jake, right,
track,
for
Alex.
permissions?
I think
Or
you're on the
would
right
you-
track.
I was thinking permissions, but might be because if I don't know.
Maybe our VPN's cloud-based as well. It's hooked into something I could see.
When I rolled back and I said, I wish I knew what VPN we were working with.
Right.
Like if it's a cloud-based VPN,
It's not the one that starts with Z.
that only leaves like 1,000 other ones. Okay.
Yep. And the permissions audit might be a good one to kind of go, maybe to use that another time. I think that one might need to cool off there. I know we haven't used it, but.
Oh, okay. All right.
Have we used our EDR yet, or did we try EDR?
We
or
talked
endpoint
ourselves
mask or
out of
anything?
the EDR
Yeah.
analysis when we said that the
The contractor, didn't have the
Contractors
same
don't
one.
use them.
Okay.
but they did have to get in somewhere.
Yes. There's a.
So EDR. What do you think, Alex?
I like EDR.
I like the cloud. I like that mention of is it a
You like cloud?
cloud-based tool?
We like cloud. We're leaning towards cloud.
I like the one you were asking the right question. Like, is this a cloud-based one, or which tool set should I go with? I like the cloud one.
I think most environments are synced. So if we have a domain admin account, or hopefully not licensed with global admin or global permissions, but we never know with our corporation. And it could be worth at least investigating other telemetry sources like the cloud to see how they're persisting or what else they're doing. So
I'll agree with that. Yeah.
that's what it drew me towards.
All right. All right. Let's
Except
hit
for
that.
me rolling it this time, not Alex.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's Jake's idea.
Alex did pretty good before, though. We got
Okay.
a
There we
19
go.
strong showing cloud event log analysis. So I mentioned the security operations director does a great job of getting the logs, getting the right level of logs right to the SIM. And you were able to identify that one of the managed identity accounts in your Active Directory domain that's used to run a service had a app registration password as one of the attributes. And upon investigation here, you identify that that the privileged domain service was used to run the back end of a file upload site that had host permissions on this server. And due to the absence of MFA for the account and a weak conditional access policy, external authentication is possible, along with the ability to remotely run commands on the server to kick off a beacon for persistence. So it's kind of dual purpose there.
Like everything right there.
So on-prem and cloud.
Just
Everything's
bad.
on.
This is bad.
Rocked
You're having
them.
a bad
Yeah.
time. Well, we said the whole domain was compromised, right? And so even though the app registration password was there, they didn't need it. That was something that was like an easy thing at the beginning before they escalated. They had that credential, were able to authenticate.
Move them tokens there, Blake.
Move them tokens. All right. So we're going to go 3 to the 2 to the 1.
Boom.
And I did the turn. So we got 3 turns left. We got 1 card remaining. We're in a very good position. A great option just opened up on the board. If you're paying attention, remember which one it is. Endless possibilities.
I
think it's almost firewall, right? Go back to the VPN, or what were you think, Jake?
I was wondering how long Sean's briefing is going to go on here.
Sean's still at the briefing. He sent a little Teams message. He asked if you could upload a particular set of logs to the SharePoint site that you're using for the artifacts because he needed to present them. So I think he might be another hour or so.
All right. I think maybe those are the firewall logs. That's what needs to be analyzed?
I think we go back to that too, even though we failed the first time. But
yeah, we failed the first time.
We know so much about the VPN. We know so much that there could be.
We've got timestamps. We've got IPs. We're finding different ways to look at it by different log sources. We found a host name.
Got a couple people that had some good sleep, had a little nap.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey.
Nothing like that win and roll hitting, right? That dopamine hit when you finish the script, when you get that latest version of Locksmith ready for publication, just like bam, like Michael Jordan jumping up in the air, just
Published it yesterday, buddy. Published a new version yesterday.
See, tying it in there. I do my research. All right, so we were able to identify that the source of the lockout was indeed a the desktop host name was desktop-FAFO. Does that mean anything to you? And that was the source of the authentication request with the admin account. The device is authenticating to the network with credentials of a service desk member. They pivoted to a service desk member to get away from the burnt account. And you confirm the host name is not present in your EDR tool or your content management database, your inventory of systems. Bring your own exploited device. So you get some analysis, you reach out, you find out who registered the VPN certificate from this. This was actually a third-party contractor that does business with you. And the way to get them on the network to do presentations when they came to your company was just to give them full-blown access to the VPN. And their host got compromised externally, and you were a victim of circumstances.
Woof.
Woof. So we got 2 turns remaining. We did, all in all, did pretty good. Tying back I said I'd tie back the C2. So the SIM card came up at the wrong time, and I didn't want to bring up the cloud app impersonation. So the C2 living off the trusted sites was also where you found out later on through your analysis that they were also running a C2 to a blog site.
Sure.
Because it was a trusted category in your environment, so it didn't stand out as something. But when you found the other blog sites, and then you found one with a extremely high volume of requests at a certain cadence, that stood out like a sore thumb. You were able to confirm that as C2 once you're able to tie in some artifacts from that other host that was the compromised device. User agent string.
Nice.
So
How's
we
that
did it.
meeting going, Sean?
Yeah, Sean's back from the meeting. Sean's back from the meeting. So we have to give you an update here. We have to give you an update.
You guys solved it all.
Yeah,
We
he's
were
going
able
back
to
to the
solve
board.
it now. We're working on writing this up.
I can turn around and head back with another update for him.
Yeah, we're really tired. We got to do this update before we can go to sleep. So can we bring in some other team members so maybe we can transfer notes and kind of build out the update?
Yeah. No, this was great. I appreciate you guys. I think this is a good example of, hey, all of these attacks are real world attacks. Blake, I think you did a good job baking in some of the nuance with how and why some of these things don't work, because that's, I think, the best part of this game is it forces you out of the rut from
Right.
talking through scenarios, right, and brings in some of that real world. Hey, issues come up. How do you work through those? Again, really appreciate both you guys, Blake, Jake, for joining us. We've got a couple minutes here. Any closing thoughts you want to put out there?
Yeah, I would say that if you are working in cybersecurity, even if you're not in incident response, maybe you're in GRC, maybe you work in identity access management, some tangential relation to cybersecurity. This game is free. It's free. It's available to play free on the internet. Also, if you go to cybersecurity conference, Black Hills gives these decks away. If you're an educator and you want to teach people, if you reach out to Black Hills, they will send you decks of cards to give to people, and they'll just send it to you. It's a great tool. It can help you if you have new team members. You can help kind of familiarize them with your environment. If you have team members that you've been working with for a while, you can also kind of challenge maybe you're in charge of security tools and you have 4 things that you want to highlight, 1, 2, 3, 4. You could bring these up in a scenario and present it to your team, or maybe get an opportunity to connect with leadership. And people are visual, they buy what they can see. You could be a great speaker, and if you're talking with no slides, sometimes people might not understand what you're telling them. But when they're playing the game and they're involved and you're connecting the dots and you add in a little storytelling, you can really influence people for great change. I've done it. I've seen others do it. I've heard others do it. So check it out. Take some time. Look at if you say, I don't know how to create the scenario, just look at something in the news. Pick out pieces there. If you can relate it to your environment, put that together. The first couple might be a little clunky, but the more you do them, the better they get. And it can be a good time. So I appreciate you inviting me here to do this, and hopefully everybody enjoyed the exercise.
And I wanted to say, even if you can't tie it to your specific environment, right? Sometimes kind of walking through, oh, we have no coverage for this specific type of attack is really revealing, or this specific piece of, the attack chain. So yeah, it can be really cool. And, a person that works in identity and access management like myself, I don't get into IR cases, but knowing about all of these pieces helps me then do my job better as well.
Yeah, there you go. That's it right there.
Yeah.
Cool.
And yeah. Can I plug Locksmith again? Because I really I added ESC7, ESC9, and ESC16 detections over the weekend. And so it is now super powered. Grab it.
Yeah.
That's a good closing thought. And that's linked under the event so people can go out and grab that for sure. Once again, thank you guys. Appreciate it. If you're watching along, hopefully this gives you some inspiration on how you can use Backdoors and Breaches back at your organization. And until next time, thanks for tuning in.
Take care.
Thanks, y'all.